Listen, Luke, you said you wanted to make a Ferris wheel, and I'll give you a quick let's get started sort of tutorial on this, and you can then come and see me later in the week if you're interested, or just email me and I'll try to send you a little bit more help. To start, I'm going to press the C button to get the circle tool going. And we want to create this vertically, so I'm just going to click here vertically. And what you'll notice is that it gives you a radius down at the bottom right. And if we're thinking about the size of your project, you probably want the maximum radius to be about 5 inches. I'm just making random guesses here. And you'll see that that's pretty small. So I'm just actually going to select this guy away, and I'm just going to zoom way in on this. So now we got this circle, and I want to push or pull it out a little bit. So let me orbit just a tad so that we can kind of see what we're doing. And I'm going to press the push-pull, and I'm going to start to pull it out here a certain amount. Now we don't want it too large. I'm thinking probably somewhere around 1/2 an inch is probably the most that thickness that we want it. We'll eventually duplicate this, but for now we'll just work on one of them. Now you might remember that we use something called the offset tool, which is the F button. F is in Frank. We're going to push right here, just click one time. And the outer edge, I want it to be real thin, like a rail, basically. And so let's do 0.25 inches. You might have different dimensions already for this, but if I just call out that, you'll see what I get. And so you can augment those as you'd wish. You'll then use a push-pull tool again, remembering obviously, oh, sorry about that. I'll redo the offset. Yeah, okay. So the push-pull tool just was like grabbing the outer edge, which wasn't what we wanted. But anyway, we'll push this through until we see it disappear. And so now you've got this rail. And of course, if you wanted to, you could create this rail a little bit thinner. But if you got to a point where you're like, yeah, I like it, but I just want to push it a little bit more, you could shave off a little bit. And so you see how that distance down there is negative. You can just push it a little bit more just so that it gets a little bit thinner. That's totally fine. Shave off 3/16 of an inch from your original 1/2 inch, or shave off 1/4 inch from your original 1/2 inch, leaving you with 1/4 here. So, okay, if we orbit around, now we can see that we've got this rail. We see at this point it's about 1/4 inch thick and 1/4 inch thick this way. And it is a 5 inch in as a radius. So you might wonder, like, okay, Maggie, now what do we do? Well, the next thing to do, I would think, if you're going to make a Ferris wheel, obviously you've got to mount it on a base, and we can easily do that if we want to, but I kind of want to duplicate this, and so we'll use this is a move tool, right? Ooh. And this actually got me thinking. We haven't grouped it yet, so let's group it. Like I said, this video is a little bit ad hoc. I didn't really rehearse. But now we have to right click. We're going to make a group. So now that baby's a group. And we can duplicate it easily. So let's click it. Let's press the M button. Click it again. And then press Option. And that will move it. Right? Now, of course, we need to figure out where to move it. That looks decent, but of course, you're going to have to... Oh, oopsie. It did not like that. All right. There we go. All right, something like that. And now, if I orbit around, like, we'll clearly see that these things aren't in line, and so we'll have to select one of them, right? And we'll have to move it using the M button until it's like right in line with the other one. And obviously we don't want it exactly on top of it. Right now it looks like it's exactly on top of it. So I'm just going to pull it out a little bit wider here. It comes with Yeah, it's definitely getting closer. But yeah, so you get the gist of how we're trying to do this. This is like a little bit of a tedious process. But generally, like what we want is for these things eventually to sort of line up. And once they do, we can start to add some components. And I don't think I lined these up exactly right, but I could if I spent just a little more time on it. And like you can see that this one appears a little bit larger just because it's a little bit toward me. That's why, right? You can see it's a little bit toward me. They're not different sizes or anything like that. All right, so something like that. Cool. All right, so once this is sort of in order here, what we can start to do is we can kind of zoom way in on this surface. And if we wanted to, we could start to maybe create some lines here where we maybe want to have the little boxes for, or the little place that will come across. Or I don't actually really know what I'm talking about because I've never built a Ferris wheel before. But if I wanted to, I could basically build tiny little rectangles here. Here, I'll just do one example for you. And I could then push, pull it. I could, let me get a little closer. It's not liking that. Ah, okay. I think I have to ungroup it first. So let me do one quick thing, which is to hide this. And then I'm going to edit. And so all right. All right, let's see if this works. Okay, so now it's allowing me to do that. So like I said, not rehearsed, but what you're seeing here is that if I double click on the item once I've made it a group, it'll undo that group just so that I can work on it. And then you can pull this out to a certain amount. And let's say that we want this to be like maybe a full inch across. So we can put 1 inch like that and have it come off. And then what we can do is just sort of continue to go around. And the line tool is probably going to be what we want to use for that. So I'll create a couple more. And of course you'll measure these, but you want to have them be at regular intervals. Then you'd use the push-pull tool. You'd come here, you'd extrude it out to 1 inch, right? And you do that basically all the way around. Let me do a few more just so that we can get a basic gist of what this is going to start to look like. Ooh, nope. Right, it'll be a little bit tougher just on some of these just because of the angles. Give me just a minute. Okay. And like, I am not doing a very good job at all of doing any sort of measuring whatsoever, but like I said, try to have your measurements be on point, but if the whole thing looks different at the end, like it's really okay. Just try to have something that is pretty accurate in terms of the measurement. Okay, then we're going to warp it around again. All right, and I'm actually at this point, I'm going to just sort of pause this whole operation. I'm going to go to Edit, Unhide All. Oops, sorry. First I got to select out of this, and then I'm going to do edit, unhide all, and that should come back. Obviously now at this point, we're going to have to move this baby on so that it matches up.